Welcome to Twilight Tale, the place where history gently whispers in the stillness of the night. Tonight, as you drift into the world of dreams, we'll take you on a peaceful journey through time to the heart of ancient Egypt. Sleep through the story of how the magnificent pyramids were built, stone by stone, block by block, in a time long past but never forgotten. As you close your eyes, let the sands of time carry you through the ages, letting the wonders of human ingenuity unfold with every step, all while you relax and rest, letting your dreams be shaped by the story itself. In the dim, golden light of the fading day, a hush falls upon the Giza Plateau. The sand, undisturbed by time's passage, lies still, as though holding its breath. It is as if the land itself, ancient and full of secrets, waits in reverence. The sun dips low, casting long shadows across the weathered limestone. The air thickens with dust, and the first whispers of the desert wind stir across the wide, empty expanse. Here, beneath the gaze of the ancient pyramids, the world feels suspended between the past and the present. There is a question, a quiet one that lingers in the air. Where did the path go? The path that carried mountains, not of stone, but of the very soul of this place. The path that bore the weight of 1,000 lives, the weight of the stars, the weight of the earth itself. What happened to it? The question dances on the edge of thought, elusive, fading like a dream. As twilight gathers, we follow a faint trace, a line of shadow, a scar upon the earth that once carried the world to its peak. It is not much to look at now, a faint impression in the dust, a suggestion of something greater. But there was a time when this path was the sacred artery, the lifeline of the Great Pyramid's birth. It was here that the stones were dragged, hoisted, carried by hands that did not labor, but revered, hands that placed each block not as mere workers, but as pilgrims traveling along a divine incline. Their steps were not just steps, they were prayers, whispered to the wind, to the gods of the sky and the earth. As we move deeper into the silence, the ramp begins to take shape, not as a mere tool, but as something much more profound. The earth itself begins to rise in gentle slopes, soft, curving lines that spiral upwards into the shadows of forgotten history. This is no ordinary ramp, no simple earth or stone path. It is a symbol of unseen effort, of faith that transcends human labor, of hands that carry more than just stone, but the weight of eternity itself. Here, in this sacred place, the ramp becomes a bridge between the ground and the sky, between the mortal and the divine. Beneath the silence, there are whispers that tell us the story of the ramp, of its construction, of its secrets. Some say the ramp was once earth, scraped and shaped by the hands of countless workers, their sweat mingling with the dust. Others speak of stone, carved with the precision of the stars themselves, each block moving with the grace of a celestial body, guided by hands that knew the language of the heavens. And still, some tell us that the ramp lies hidden inside the very pyramid itself, a secret staircase concealed within the heart of the stone. How could such a thing be? How could something so vast, so monumental, be built without leaving a single trace? The mystery deepens, folding into itself like the layers of time. The ramp, like the pyramid, refuses to reveal itself fully. It hides its secrets beneath the weight of centuries, beneath the veil of sand and wind. It becomes not just a tool of construction, but a symbol of effort, of unseen labor, of the bridge between heaven and earth. It is a sacred journey, one that cannot be measured by the hand or seen with the eye. It is a journey of the soul, one that stretches from the valley below to the stars above. And yet, no one can say for certain how the pyramid was built, or where the ramp went, or how the stones were moved. It is as though the answer itself is locked away, hidden beneath the shifting sands, buried in the deep silence of the desert. As the camera of the mind pulls back, the dunes stretch endlessly into the distance, their contours shifting with the wind, erasing the footprints of those who came before. The ramp, though present in spirit, is now lost to time, swallowed by the earth and forgotten by all who walked its path. It is as though the history of this place is a story that is never fully told, a truth that is never fully revealed. The silence deepens, and with it, the mystery grows. Perhaps some things are not meant to be known. Perhaps some questions are meant to remain unanswered, floating in the air like dust, like whispers, like memories that fade when we are not yet ready to listen. The wind begins to stir once more, gentle and soft, a quiet breath across the sands. It carries with it the echo of voices long gone, the distant murmur of pilgrims whose names have been lost to time. Their footsteps, too, have vanished into the sands, but their presence lingers, like the fading scent of incense, like the touch of a hand that once carved the stones of the world. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, this ramp beneath the dunes. Perhaps the true nature of the pyramid is a secret that must remain shrouded in mystery, a riddle that will never be solved. And yet there is a quiet beauty in that, in the unanswered questions, in the things we may never fully understand. For some truths are meant to be felt, not known, to be experienced in the silence of the soul, in the stillness of the desert. As the darkness falls completely, the last rays of the sun fading into the horizon, we are left with only the quiet whisper of the wind. The dunes stretch on, unbroken, unchanged, the silence growing deeper and deeper until it is all that remains. The ramp, the pyramid, the workers, all fade into the sands, their story suspended in time, waiting for the moment when we are ready to hear it again. And so we are left with this, a question that will never be answered, a mystery that will never be solved. But in that silence, in that stillness, there is a peace, a knowing that some things are meant to remain hidden, wrapped in the dust of the desert, beneath the weight of the stars. For now the ramp remains beneath the dunes, buried in the earth, waiting, as all things do, for the day when it will be remembered again. Beneath a sky heavy with twilight, a limestone block rests alone in a quiet quarry, pale as moonbone, untouched by the weight of time. Its surface is smooth, faintly etched with the whispers of forgotten hands, its edges soft yet resolute. Around it the stillness holds, as if the earth itself is pausing, waiting for something to begin. The stone lies in the calm of the moment before the world shifts. There is no sound here, only the faint pulse of a river far beyond the horizon, the steady rhythm of an unseen heart. And yet, a question rises from the dust, a question that has floated through the ages. How did the heavy become holy? How did the grounded learn ascent? The question lingers, soft as a breath, and the scene unfurls, drawing the eye along the stone's journey, a path not yet traced but always known. We glide from the quarry's chalky stillness, the stone resting on its bed of dust, toward the distant river where the world will change. The Nile, slow and patient, hums with a quiet power, its surface still like a mirror, waiting to carry the stone upon its waters. The block is not just a weight of stone, it is a thing with purpose, with direction, its journey a silent dance between the earth and the heavens. The river, ancient as the gods, stirs with the softest of movements. A boat drifts, carrying the stone like a sleeping beast, heavy yet peaceful, floating on the current, its shape softened by the mist rising from the water. The barge is anchored by starlight, guided by the invisible forces of the night. The stone, once bound to the earth, now rises above it, touched by the Nile's sacred flow. And so, with each ripple of the water, the stone's journey becomes more than just the movement of matter. It becomes a passage of transformation, a quiet alchemy. It is said that the Nile knows all things, that beneath its surface lies the memory of the earth itself. It carries not only stone, but the weight of history, the knowledge of those who walked its banks, the breath of an ancient people. And so we follow the stone's path, watching as it drifts beneath the stars, its journey marked by the slow pulse of the river and the whispers of those who worked in silence. The chapter deepens, drawing us closer to the hands that guided the stone, hands that moved with purpose and reverence. The wedges and chisels, the breath of the workers, the rhythm of their song-like chants, all of these are threads in the sacred chain that binds the stone to its destiny. There is no hurry here, no rush, only the quiet patience of those who knew that each strike of the chisel, each breath drawn in the cool morning air, was a prayer. The stone, in its journey, becomes something more than a simple object. It is the embodiment of an ancient ritual, of hands that work with reverence, with care, with belief. Each chip taken from the stone is not just an effort to shape, but an offering to the gods, a quiet offering to the heavens. The act of shaping the stone becomes an act of devotion, a way of drawing down the sacred into the mortal world, and the stone, in turn, learns to rise. As the stone floats along the Nile, it is carried not just by the water, but by the very force of the universe. It is as though the river, with its silent current, has become a bridge between the earth and the stars, a conduit for the transformation of matter into something holy. The stone is not just moved, it is elevated, carried upon the wings of the river, bathed in the light of the moon, marked by the breath of the wind. And with each gentle ripple, the stone moves closer to its final destination, a destination not bound by the earth, but by the heavens themselves. There is a deep, tender contradiction in the stone's journey. It is both weight and lightness, bound to the earth yet rising toward the sky. It is the union of opposites, the sacred balance between what is grounded and what is ascendant. The stone is not just an object of labor, it is an expression of the divine, shaped by the hands of those who understood that to build is to reach beyond the earth, beyond time, beyond the self. It is the quiet grace of a civilization that knew how to move mountains with patience, with care, with faith. And so the stone makes its way toward the pyramid, toward the great work that will forever bind it to the earth. But the pyramid, in its grand form, is not a single act of creation. It is 1,000 acts, 1,000 quiet gestures, layered like prayers. The workers did not build the pyramid with haste. They built it with reverence, with the slow and steady rhythm of the heart. Each stone was laid not in the rush of ambition, but in the silence of devotion. The pyramid, in its rise, is a testament not to the power of man, but to the sacred work of the earth, the river, the sky. And so we return to the stone, once buried, once hidden beneath the earth, now lifted into a shape that points toward eternity. The stone has learned to fly, to rise, to ascend toward the heavens. It has been shaped by the hands of those who understood that creation is not a violent act, but a gentle one, a slow unfolding of the sacred. The pyramid, in all its grandeur, is not a monument to a single moment, but to the quiet, sacred work of time itself. As the camera of the mind pulls back, we see the stone, now part of the pyramid, rising toward the sky, its shape etched in the dim glow of starlight. The river, still and unbroken, flows beneath the pyramid, carrying with it the memory of the stone's journey. The sound of water is soft, steady, like a heartbeat in the night. The wind, gentle and cool, whispers across the desert, brushing against the pyramid's stone surface, carrying with it the secrets of a time long past. Perhaps, beneath the silence of the Nile, the river still remembers. Perhaps it remembers the stone's journey, the slow, patient rise from the earth to the heavens. The wind, too, carries its own stories, but some things are never spoken aloud. Some things are felt only in the quiet space between breaths, in the moments before sleep, in the places where memory fades into dream. The stone, the river, the pyramid, they are all part of a quiet, sacred ritual, a dance that unfolds over time. And in that dance, we find not just the creation of a monument, but the creation of something greater, a connection between the earth and the sky, between the heavy and the holy, between the past and the future. And perhaps in that quiet dance, we learn how to rise just as the stone did towards something greater than ourselves. The sound of water fills the air, and the chapter fades into silence, leaving us with the sense that the river, like time itself, carries the memory of what is lost and what is yet to come. In the stillness before dawn, when the world is nothing more than a breath, the Nile lies flat and silent beneath the dark blue sky. The surface of the river is a mirror, still, its vastness an echo of the heavens. In this moment, the world holds its breath. The air is thick with the weight of ancient secrets, and there is a question, gentle and unspoken, that floats just above the water, like a whisper barely remembered. What did the water carry that no one can fully name? We glide along the river's edge, the mist rising in soft waves, wrapping the landscape in an ethereal embrace. The barges appear like phantoms, their shapes faint and ghostly against the fog, drifting with quiet purpose through the water. They move without sound, their wooden hulls carved by time, their cargo wrapped in woven reeds, their crew's movements slow and deliberate, each gesture part of a dance that has been practiced for centuries. The barges are more than mere vessels, they are ancient carriers, holding something precious, something heavy, though we cannot yet see it. The air is filled with the scent of water, the dampness of earth, the softness of morning's first light. The procession of barges continues, slipping quietly through the mist, their shapes becoming more defined with each passing moment. The river, alive with the rhythm of the world's oldest flow, moves them toward their destination, a place where stone will become something more, where destiny is shaped in the hands of the earth and sky. This journey, this crossing of the river, is not just a passage, it is a sacred corridor, a gate between the quarry where stone is born and the temples where it will reach toward the heavens. The Nile, in all its timeless grace, is the spine of Egypt. It is more than a river, it is the very lifeblood of the land, its waters a living altar upon which the kingdom's future is built. The barges, laden with stone, float upon this divine river like offerings, each one a silent prayer, each journey a step toward the creation of something eternal. The stone, once pulled from the quarries, now becomes part of a greater purpose. It is as though the river itself chooses the moment of ascent, allowing the stone to glide with the current, guided by unseen hands toward the temples where it will stand as a testament to the gods. It is said that the timing of these journeys, the moment when the river's current is just right, is as sacred as the act of building itself. The Nile's flow, its seasonal rhythm, dictated more than just movement, it dictated destiny. The floods that came each year shaped the course of the river, and with them the timing of the barges, the sacred ritual of their passage. The barges must have been moved with care, each one guided by the ebb and flow of the river, the tides of the earth beneath the sky. Every movement must have been in harmony with nature, with the rhythms of the seasons, for to move against the flow would be to deny the very breath of the land. The barges float silently, their course precise, yet the details of their passage remain veiled in shadow. How many barges moved in a day? How many journeys were made across the Nile's great expanse? These answers, lost in the depths of time, remain unspoken. The rituals, the schedules, the orchestrations. How many hands guided the ropes? How many voices whispered blessings over each load? These are the mysteries that the Nile keeps hidden beneath its surface. Perhaps these truths were never meant to be captured, only carried with the river's flow, carried toward places beyond our understanding. As we drift through the fog, the moon above is pale and silent, casting its soft light upon the barges below. The torches along the river's edge flicker in the breeze, their light trembling in the dark. Ropes, coiled like serpents, are pulled through the hands of those unseen, their movements fluid, instinctual, part of the silent rhythm of the river's pulse. Priests stand on the banks, murmuring blessings over the cargo, words that are carried away by the wind, swallowed by the river, never reaching the ears of those who walk on land. The river listens in silence, as it always has. The barges, with their sacred cargo, slip into the fog, their shapes fading into the distance, becoming part of the mist itself. The river, like a dream, absorbs them and they disappear, swallowed by time. The fog grows thicker, the world dissolves into the quiet hush of the night. The water moves on, flowing in its eternal rhythm, carrying its secrets with it, secrets that cannot be named, that cannot be fully understood. The river knows what it carries, but it does not speak of it. It keeps its mysteries close, beneath the surface, like the sky holding the reflection of the earth. Perhaps it is as it was always meant to be. Some things were never meant to be captured, only experienced, only felt as they pass through our fingers like water. The secrets of the river, the number of barges, the precise orchestration of the journeys, they are lost in the depths of time, carried away by the current, drifting toward some far-off shore where we will never go. The river, in its quiet wisdom, carries what it will, without explanation, without apology. The final image fades into stillness. The barges are no more, their shapes gone, swallowed by the fog, swallowed by the river itself. The moon above fades, and the night deepens, as if the world itself has drawn a breath and held it in quiet reverence. The water, ever moving, continues its journey, keeping its secrets and carrying them to places unknown. We are left in the silence, suspended in that quiet space where the river ends, and the world itself, like the barges, fades into the mist. Some truths are meant to travel, not to be captured, and perhaps in the deep silence of the river, we come to understand that the mysteries we seek are not always meant to be found. They are meant to be felt, carried with the current, like the ancient barges that glide silently through the mist, holding their secrets close, never to be fully named. And in this quiet knowing we rest, suspended in the beauty of the mystery, just as sleep begins to draw near. In the tender embrace of the evening, the world holds its breath. Beneath the soft, fading light of the sun, there is a scar in the earth. It is Tura's pale cliffs, where the limestone lies exposed, stripped of time, waiting to be carved. This scar, this quiet wound in the land, has seen the weight of centuries pass over it, leaving no trace but dust. The stone here, pale and unyielding, is older than memory, older than language itself. And beneath the stillness of the quarry, there is a question, whispered like a secret carried on the wind. Who listened to the stone before it became a wall of heaven? The stone is ancient, but so is the silence that fills this place. We do not enter this quarry as one would a worksite, bustling with activity and noise. No, this place is something far deeper, far older. Here, the act of extraction is not merely labor, it is a sacred ritual, an offering, a conversation between the earth and the sky. Each strike of the tool against the stone is a soft prayer, and each echo that rises from the rock is the voice of a world long gone, calling to us from the depths of time. The stone is not taken, it is released, as though it has been waiting ever so patiently for its moment of awakening. We drift through the quarry, moving past the raw, jagged edges of stone. The air is thick with dust, heavy with the scent of earth and time. The workers, long forgotten by history, were here once, though they are no longer with us. Yet their presence still lingers in the very walls of the quarry, etched in the silence between each blow. With each tap of the chisel, with each strike of the hammer, They did not carve into the stone, they coaxed it, like one might soothe a restless soul. The stone surrendered not from force, but from understanding, from a deep, unspoken communion. The men read the cracks in the stone as prophets read the stars, waiting for the rock to tell them where it would break, where it would yield, where it would sing. The process of shaping the stone is a quiet dance, an offering of reverence. Water is poured into grooves, coaxing the stone to crack open, to give itself willingly. The workers knew, perhaps instinctively, that creation did not always require force. Sometimes it simply required patience, the delicate art of waiting, of listening. The stone, in its quiet way, became a partner in this dance. It spoke, not in words, but in cracks and echoes, in the way the chisel felt in the hand, in the way the stone breathed beneath the touch of the hammer. As the quarry stretches out before us, we realize the great paradox that lies at its heart. The pyramid was built not by piling stone upon stone, but by taking away. The very act of creation here is one of absence, of removal, of carving the shape of the divine from the flesh of the earth. The pyramid, this symbol of grandeur, of eternity, was brought forth not by adding to the earth, but by removing from it, by chiseling away the very bones of the land. And yet, we are told that this removal was not an act of destruction, but of creation, for in absence, greatness was born. The quarry, then, becomes more than a place of labor. It becomes a hidden chamber in the pyramid's story, a forgotten shrine where the earth was called upon to give, to release. The gift of the quarry was carried elsewhere, to the sacred temple where it would be made into something greater than it ever could have been alone. The workers, in their quiet reverence, were part of this sacred exchange, this hidden ritual. The stones they cut, the stones they coaxed into being, would be carried on barges to their final resting place, and there, in the shadow of the Great Pyramid, they would find their true purpose. As we linger in the quiet of the quarry, a deep melancholy settles over us. The workers, those nameless hands, are long gone, but we imagine them still, lying near the cut faces of the stone, their lives small beneath the vast cliffs, yet essential in the way the moon is to the tides. Their work, their labor, was not just a means to an end, it was a sacred calling, one that tied them to the land, to the stone, to the sky. They were not building the pyramid, they were listening to it, drawing it out of the earth, like an ancient song rising from the deep. And there is a truth here, a quiet, forbidden knowledge that the workers carried with them, the secret understanding of stone. They knew how to coax it, how to make it yield without breaking it, how to awaken its slumbering power. In their hands, the stone became something more than rock. It became a living thing, a thing with purpose, with destiny. The workers knew that creation was not about domination, but about understanding, about communion. They listened to the stone, and in return, the stone listened to them. As the sun dips low, casting long shadows across the quarry, we find ourselves standing before the empty spaces left behind. The stone, once part of the earth, now gone, carried away to a place of greater purpose. And in its absence, there is something sacred, something profound. The pyramid stands far away, its silhouette sharp against the dusk sky, a testament to the greatness that was created from the quiet work of removal. But here, in the quarry, there is stillness, a quiet proof that greatness begins not in accumulation, but in absence.
The cliffs, stripped of their stone, remain, quiet, unmoving, yet filled with the memory of those who once worked here.
Dust settles softly on the ground, and the echoes that once rang through the quarry fade into silence. The workers, the stones, the rituals, they are gone, but they are not forgotten. The cliff still remembers the hands that woke it, the hands that coaxed it to give up its secrets, its shape. The memory lingers in the very rock itself, in the silence that fills the air. And as the night falls, we are left with the sense that some things are never fully gone. They simply fade into the earth, into the quiet spaces where history is carved into the land itself. Perhaps, in the end, it was never meant to be captured, this quiet work of creation. Perhaps the true purpose of the quarry was not to build, but to disappear, to become part of the land, part of the pyramid, part of something greater than itself. The echoes fade, but the cliff still remembers, and in that remembering, greatness lives on. In the quiet of the early dawn, when the world feels suspended between dream and waking, a single sound breaks the stillness. It is soft, soothing, a low rasp of wood dragging against sand, repeated again and again, like the rhythm of a lullaby sung by the earth itself. The sound rises and falls in gentle waves, marking the passage of time without hurry. There is a question that lingers with it, light as a whisper, almost forgotten. How did they make the earth behave? We are drawn to this question, not with urgency, but with quiet wonder. The sand, stubborn and unyielding, bends to a force greater than itself, an ancient mystery, an art of movement. The sleds, heavy with stone, slide across the earth, their path softened by water. The friction of the sand, so resolute and thick, is soothed into submission, the surface giving way to the gentle pull of rope and the steady rhythm of bodies in motion. The act is not hurried, it is calm, almost sacred, as though the earth itself is being coaxed, not forced. The scene shifts, and we move deeper into the mystery. The water, which has softened the sand, now becomes an offering. A few drops, poured like a blessing, touch the earth. The sand, once resistant, begins to yield, its surface changing beneath the touch of the liquid. There is no violence in this transformation, only patience. The ropes tighten in unison, each strand a thread woven into the fabric of a quiet ritual. The workers, though unseen, are present in every breath, in every movement. Their task is not to rush, but to move with the rhythm of the earth, with the pulse of a slow and steady cadence. We are reminded of the ancient wall paintings, figures leaning forward, one pouring water ahead, as though feeding the road itself, offering it the nourishment it needs to cooperate. There is no drama here, no grand spectacle, only a slow, steady rhythm. The movement of the sleds becomes a song, the soft scrape of wood on wet sand, a sound that reverberates through the centuries, marking the passage of something greater than stone, greater than effort. This is a ritual, a dance of breath and body, of patience and understanding, a communion between man and earth. As the chapter deepens, we are drawn into the calm flow of this ancient movement. The beauty lies not in the power of the labor, but in its simplicity. The movement of the sleds is not forced, it is gentle, measured.
we begin to understand that the work is not a struggle against the earth, but a partnership with it. The sand, once stiff and resistant, now flows beneath the sleds, no longer an obstacle, but a willing guide, a path made soft by the touch of water and the patience of the laborers. This is the art of making the earth behave, not by dominating it, but by listening to it, by moving with it.
And in this simple, measured act, there is something profound. The same civilization that could align the stars, that could construct wonders that reached toward the heavens, relied on something as gentle, as humble as wet sand to guide its greatest works. How could a people so capable of such monumental feats place their trust in something so unassuming, so fragile? The contradiction is not lost on us. The scale of their accomplishments juxtaposed with the quiet simplicity of their methods. But perhaps it is in this simplicity that the true power lies. Perhaps the greatest achievements are those that unfold, not in grand gestures, but in the subtle, quiet work of human hands and the earth's soft embrace. The journey of the sleds continues, pulling their heavy load with the steady cadence of life itself. Each inch moved is a quiet triumph, each step taken in harmony with the earth, the sand, the water. There is no hurry here, no rush to reach the end. The slow pull of the sleds is like a heartbeat, a rhythm that transcends time, that stretches from the past into the present, from the land into the sky. As the sleds move farther, they begin to fade into the distance. The sand, once marked by their path, begins to smooth over, the grooves left behind soon to be erased by the wind. The earth, like the water, drinks in the secret of the journey, and the truth slips away, patient and quiet, as if it has always been there, waiting to be discovered. The sleds are gone, but their song lingers in the air, a quiet echo that fades softly into the silence of the desert. The water, now soaking into the dust, leaves behind only traces, faint, almost imperceptible, yet deeply felt. The sand in its stillness has become a partner in this ancient act of creation, and the earth keeps its secret, holding it close, as it always has. The truth is not shouted, it does not demand attention. It glides forward, moving softly like the slow pull of a sled, a journey that begins not with force, but with the quiet patience of a single drop of water.
Perhaps the truth was never meant to be found, not in grand gestures or in moments of dramatic revelation. Perhaps it was always meant to move forward quietly, like the sled, leaving only faint traces in the sand, disappearing into the distance as the wind slowly erases its path. And in the stillness of the desert, where the sand is soft and the air is full of ancient echoes, we are left with the quiet understanding that the greatest acts of creation often happen not in the struggle, but in the patience, the grace, and the shared heartbeat of human hands and the earth beneath them. The chapter closes in that stillness, with the earth holding its secret just as the desert holds its ancient whispers. The sled, like the journey it carried, has vanished, but the song it left behind lingers in the soft movement of the sand, in the memory of what was, and what was always meant to be.
The night stretches above the plateau, vast and endless. Stars hang in the sky like scattered silver seeds, glowing softly against the velvet dark. There is no sound but the quiet breathing of the earth beneath. The air feels thick with ancient whispers, as if the stars themselves are watching, waiting, listening. And beneath them, a question stirs gently in the mind, rising from the depths of the night. How did they make stone obey the sky? The question lingers, soft and elusive, like the shimmering stars overhead. It is not asked aloud, but felt, deep in the bones, in the pulse of the earth itself. We begin to follow a group of surveyors, their forms barely visible in the dim light. Their movements are slow, deliberate, their feet barely touching the ground. Their measuring ropes, long and steady, stretch out between the points of earth and points of heaven, binding the two together in sacred unity. The ropes are not mere tools, they are threads of intent, carrying the weight of a quiet, cosmic practice. The surveyors move like priests, marking the path between the stars and the stones, between the heavens and the earth. As we move deeper into the mystery, we discover the architecture of intention that unfolds beneath their feet. The surveyors do not simply measure, they listen. The sky above, the land below, all seem to speak in a language only they understand. Sightlines are carefully drawn, shadows are studied, the precise angle of the stars is noted, and the path of the northern winds is read like a sacred text. The pyramid's alignment becomes an act of tuning, a meditation, a prayer. It is not just a structure to be built, but a connection to be made, a bridge between the earth and the cosmos. The builders, with their ropes and their instruments, are not constructing a monument. They are translating the universe into angles, carving the language of the stars into the very bones of the earth. This is a slow, deliberate process, one that requires not just skill, but a deep understanding of the rhythms of the world. There is no rush here, no need to hurry. The builders move in perfect harmony with the land, with the sky, with the wind. The precision of their measurements feels like the forgotten cadence of an ancient song, each note murmured like a prayer. It is as if the sky is not distant, not separate from the earth below, but intimately close, like a living presence, one that they are in constant conversation with. Each measurement, each angle is a note in this cosmic hymn. Yet, as we linger in this quiet space, we sense a contradiction, one that both unsettles and comforts. The precision of their work is extraordinary, so precise that it feels like a lost language, a language that has been forgotten by time. The alignment of the pyramid, so perfect it seems impossible, seems to speak to a secret knowledge, one that eludes us even now. But for all the wonder of their accomplishment, the methods remain veiled, shrouded in mystery. The true blueprint, how the surveyors knew exactly where to place each stone, how they aligned it so perfectly with the stars, remains a puzzle, half known, argued over, but never fully understood. It is as if they left a riddle, a question buried within the very stones of the pyramid, waiting to be answered by someone who knows how to listen. As we walk with the surveyors, their lamplight flickering in the soft night breeze, we feel the hum of their work, a hum that reverberates deep within us. The flicker of the lamps casts soft shadows on the stone, illuminating plumb lines and ropes stretched taut, their ends lost in the distance. The air is filled with murmurs, numbers, distances, angles, spoken like prayers, like invocations to the sky. There is a calm certainty in their voices, a certainty that the sky is not an unreachable thing, distant and unknowable, but an intimate presence, close and welcoming, always there, always listening. The pyramid, as it rises from the earth, becomes not just a structure, but a living connection, a bridge between the earth and the heavens, between the known and the unknown. In these quiet moments, we come to realize that perhaps the true blueprint for the pyramid was never drawn on papyrus, never written on parchment. Perhaps it was carried in the stars themselves, in the constellations that shift slowly in the night sky, in the winds that blow across the desert, in the rhythms of the earth itself. The surveyors were not merely measuring, they were listening to the world, to the cosmos, to the breath of the earth. They were tuning their work to the music of the universe, translating it into stone, into angles, into light and shadow. And in that act of listening, they became part of something greater than themselves, a quiet communion with the stars, a cosmic dance that would continue long after they were gone.
As the night stretches on, the surveyors move further into the desert, their work continuing in silence, in the quiet certainty that the pyramid, once built, will be a reflection of the stars above. The stone blocks are slowly placed, one by one, rising toward the sky. But the work is never hurried. There is no need for haste, no rush to complete the task. The pyramid, like the stars, is eternal. It will stand as a frozen shadow of the cosmos, a still reflection of the movement of the heavens. The stars, indifferent and eternal, continue their slow turning, marking the passage of time as the pyramid stands, silent and watchful, a monument to the cosmic dance that brought it into being. And as we stand before the pyramid, watching the stars above, we realize that the builders left something behind, not just a monument, but a question that was stitched into the very fabric of the stone, a question that waits for someone to dream it awake. The answer, perhaps, is not meant to be found in the measurements, in the angles, in the work of the surveyors. Perhaps the true answer is meant to be felt, whispered in the quiet between breaths, in the stillness between the stars. Perhaps the question itself is the answer. And so, as the chapter fades into silence, we are left suspended in the awe of it all, of the pyramid, of the stars, of the quiet work that brought them together. The pyramid stands, a frozen echo of the cosmos, while the stars continue their slow, eternal turning, indifferent yet intimately close. The question remains, stitched into the stones, waiting for someone, somewhere, to listen once again. Perhaps it was never meant to be found.
We begin not within the bright corridors of the pyramid, not in the places where light meets stone, but in the imagined darkness, a space where the air feels old, patient, and untouched by time. It is a space that hums with a quiet, sacred energy, a space where the earth itself seems to breathe. The walls, though thick with limestone, hold the weight of secrets, secrets that have lingered in the stillness for millennia. It is in this space that a question arises, not with force, but like the soft tread of footsteps echoing in the distance. Could there be a path inside the body of the monument? The idea lingers, soft and haunting, a hidden passage
concealed beneath the weight of stone, a spiral route that winds up through the heart of the pyramid, secret from the world, protected from the harsh winds of the desert outside. Could such a path exist, veiled beneath the cold skin of the pyramid? The thought grows like a quiet whisper in the dark, a mystery buried in the stone itself. We move gently through this theory, as if tracing the edges of an invisible chamber, exploring the contours of a secret hidden deep within the massive frame. Each thought, each movement feels slow, deliberate, like the passage of time itself. The idea of the internal ramp takes shape slowly, like the faintest outline of a dream beginning to form in the stillness. Perhaps the stone blocks that built the pyramid were not simply hauled up from the outside, not just moved with brute strength and labor. Perhaps they were guided up from within, along a hidden curve, rising from the Earth's core toward the stars. The thought is intimate, almost sacred. The idea of a hidden path, a secret route, winding up inside the great monument, protected from the desert winds that sweep relentlessly across the land. The pyramid, then, becomes more than just an object of stone. It becomes a living structure, a shell that holds something hidden within. Its form, though still and grand, pulses with a quiet energy, like a vessel that holds a secret spine. We imagine the blocks of stone, each one carefully placed, slowly rising along that spiral passage, hidden from view. The laborers, their hands passing stone in the near darkness, moving like shadows within the heart of the pyramid, their work not just an act of construction, but a reverent devotion to the unseen. It is as though the pyramid is not just a monument, but a living, breathing thing, growing silently upward, its true purpose hidden from all who pass by. But as we move deeper into the mystery, we encounter a contradiction that cannot be ignored. The external ramps, those vast and visible structures that might have carried the stones to the top, seem too temporary, too absent, too vast in their emptiness. They are not permanent like the pyramid, not as intimate as the spiral that we imagine hidden within. And yet, the external ramps remain the most widely accepted theory, too large, too visible, too obvious. The internal route, though whispered about, though hinted at through modern scans and faint debates, remains unconfirmed, a secret that slips through the cracks of history like sand through an open palm. The pyramid is full of questions, but its answers remain shrouded in the depths of its stone body, hidden like a forgotten language waiting to be decoded. And so we move from curiosity to something deeper, something more profound. The pyramid, once a monumental achievement, now feels more like a mystery of interior devotion. We imagine the laborers not as faceless figures toiling in the heat, but as guardians of a secret, passing stones in the near darkness, their torches flickering with each step. The air is thick with the scent of smoke and stone, the sound of the stones scraping against one another echoing through the narrow walls. The walls themselves seem to breathe, holding within them the memory of those who built them, of those who moved in silence, guided by the quiet hum of a sacred rhythm. There's a beauty in this hidden labor, a beauty that comes from the intimacy of the work, from the quiet act of devotion that lies beneath the surface. The pyramid becomes less an external monument and more a sacred vessel,
a vessel filled with the echoes of those who devoted their lives to bringing it into being. It is as if the pyramid itself holds the memory of the work, as if it carries within it the whispered prayers of the laborers, who, though long gone, are still present in the stones. The sound of their work, the rhythm of their movement, still lingers in the air, reverberating through the stone walls, carried on the breath of the pyramid itself. As we come to the end of our exploration, we step back from the heart of the pyramid, stepping into the moonlit desert outside. The pyramid stands there, flawless, calm, almost indifferent in the pale light. Its exterior remains a mystery, its stone surface untouched by the years that have passed. The moonlight casts long shadows across its form, but still the pyramid holds its secrets, its heart still beating beneath the surface. It is as though the pyramid itself is a dream sealed behind stone, a dream that is still spiraling upward in silence, waiting patiently for someone to dream it awake. The pyramid, in its stillness, remains a living thing, an echo of the cosmos, a vessel of secrets that will never fully be understood. We stand at the edge of the desert, gazing up at the pyramid, and for a moment, everything is still. The world is quiet, as if holding its breath. The stars overhead move slowly, indifferent and eternal, their light soft and distant. The pyramid stands as a silent witness to the passage of time, its secrets woven into its very form. The question that once seemed so urgent, could there be a path inside the body of the monument, now lingers like a forgotten dream, carried on the wind, lost to the sands of time. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the secret of the spiral path will remain hidden, buried beneath the weight of stone and time. And yet, in the stillness of the desert, beneath the indifferent stars, we carry with us the lingering sense of something unseen turning within the pyramid, a secret still spiraling upward in the silence, waiting patiently for someone to dream it awake. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. Beneath a sky that stretches wide and quiet, the night is thick with soft dust, floating gently under the low, watching stars. Here, away from the grandeur of the pyramid, we find the village, the place that fed it, the humble heart of an empire's breath. The earth is still, the air warm with the quiet hum of 1,000 lives moving as one. In the darkness, a question rises, like a whisper on the wind. Who built the builders? In this village, the answer is not written in stone, but in the rhythm of daily life, in the quiet pulse of community. The small bread ovens glow like tiny suns, their warmth reaching out to fill the night air. The ovens are soft in their embrace, ancient in their purpose, each one a quiet promise of sustenance. The water jars, lined up like patient moons, reflect the dim light, their stillness belying the precious life they hold within. Hands, calloused and worn from work, mend rope, sand wood, and tend to the day's needs, small acts of care, repeated with the rhythm of eternity. As we move deeper into the quiet life of this village, we begin to see the sacred context in the ordinary things. The meals shared by families around low fires, the soft murmur of songs floating in the night air, the simple comfort of bodies resting on woven mats, the deep stretch of sleep. These are the true foundations of the great monument being built. It is not force that powers the hands of the workers, it is care, the gentle consistency of a community woven together by the threads of daily life. The true engine of creation is not in the muscle, but in the kindness that fuels each action, the soft miracle of continuity. Bread is kneaded,
Jars are filled, the wood is sanded down, not in haste, but in patience. Every motion is a note in a song of community, of quiet devotion to the work that must be done. The mystery here is not mechanical, it is emotional. How did thousands of hands, day after day, continue without collapse, without chaos? The community seems to breathe in unison, as though each soul has been woven into the fabric of this shared existence. The community is steady, reliable, never faltering, like the earth beneath it, always supporting, always offering. The simplicity of life here is a strength, a foundation. Each shared meal, each humble gesture holds the promise of survival, the quiet force that keeps the wheel turning. The labor of the pyramid is not only stone and rope, it is the gentle, repeated kindness that fills each hour, each day. As we trace the edges of this community, we are drawn into a contradiction. The legends of enslaved suffering echo in popular imagination. The harsh images of the workers, whips and chains, their backs bent in agony, painted in the shadows of history. But the evidence here, in the village where the workers lived and rested, speaks a different truth. These were not faceless slaves, they were skilled laborers, paid for their work, provisioned with sustenance, living with dignity. There is no violent suffering here, only hands worn from the labor of creation, hands that have built with care. Yet still, the full truth remains veiled, like the moon behind the mist, half hidden, never fully revealed. The village moves through us like a meditation, slow and steady, like the pulse of a heart that beats beneath the sand. We linger in the details, the simple things that are the life's blood of the village, the grain glimmering like starlight in the low light of the evening, the bread warm like sunlit stone, its fragrance filling the air with the promise of sustenance, the sleep deep and sacred, preparing the bodies for another day of creation. Each moment, each rhythm is a prayer to continuity, to the quiet strength that allows the work to go on. The grain is not just sustenance, it is a symbol of life itself, growing and feeding in cycles, like the stars above. The bread, shaped and baked with care, is not just nourishment for the body, but for the spirit, a reminder that even in the most humble of acts, there is sacred work being done. Sleep, too, is not a mere pause, but a necessary preparation for the day ahead. In the village, there is no room for waste, no room for haste. Everything has its place, its purpose, its time. As the village fades into the sand, the same way so many human places do, we are left with the faintest echo of its presence. The pyramid remains visible, rising up from the earth as it always has, grand and eternal in its silence. But the village, its workers, its bread ovens, its humble labor has vanished, like a dream at dawn. And yet, the echo of it lingers in the warmth of the earth, in the grains of sand that slip between our fingers. The stories of those who built the pyramid are lost to time, but their hands remain imprinted in the silence, in the rhythm of the work that was done. The pyramid stands, a quiet monument to the work of those who have come before, and in its shadow we carry the lingering memory of a village that once fed it. The truth of their labor, of their care has faded into the earth, as all things eventually do, but it is not gone. It lives in the faint warmth of an oven's ash, in the quiet hum of the earth itself, and as we stand in the stillness, we are left with gratitude for those hands, for the patience and care that made such a monument possible. They may have gone, but their work, their spirit, lingers like the warmth of the sun after it has set. Perhaps the full truth of the workers will never be known, not in words, not in history. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, but only felt in the silence, in the memory of bread, of sleep, of work well done, in the quiet echo of the hands that built, stone by stone, a monument to something greater than they could have imagined. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen.
In the flickering quiet of the evening, the soft gleam of copper catches the firelight, a blade delicate as a whisper, yet forged for purpose. It seems almost too fragile for the weight it bears. The flame dances against it, a brief spark of life, and the question rises, subtle and persistent. How did softness carve endurance? We begin our journey with this question, drawn into a world where strength is not loud and forceful, but soft, repetitive, and patient. The copper blade gleams again, now dulled from use, and yet its purpose is clear. Each mark left behind not in haste, but in quiet devotion. We follow the simple tools, each one an extension of human will. Chisels, saws, pounding stones, each used with care, each stroke deliberate and sure. The rhythm of the work moves slowly, methodically, like the turning of a slow, ancient prayer. We enter a place where time seems to stand still. The artisans, their movements graceful but worn, are engaged in a ritual of creation. Copper, once bright, has now darkened, its surface scuffed and weathered by countless strokes. The chisel's edge is refined again and again, sharpened through the slow process of wear, as sand too becomes an ally, used as a cutting whisper to separate stone, its particles fine, like a breath that shapes the earth. The pounding stones, their sound resonating with each strike, become part of a living pulse, measured in the quiet patience of 1,000 repetitions. There is no rush here. The work is done not in bursts of force, but in the gentle rhythm of slow persistence. Each cut, each edge is not a single act of power, but a quiet, patient evolution. The stone, once stubborn and solid, yields to this soft touch, carved inch by inch, not by machines or quick methods, but by the hand of time itself. The mystery lies not in the cutting of stone, but in how it was done, with such calm persistence, with such reverence for the process. The grand structures we admire were not the result of loud, thunderous actions, but of a deep devotion repeated with unwavering attention. The work, like the stone itself, was shaped in time, each stroke a small echo in the long passage of centuries. The modern mind might imagine grandeur built with the shriek of machines, with the noise and clamor of iron and steam. Yet the builders of the past knew something different. They knew that the quietest methods, the most patient practices, could achieve what would seem impossible. With each strike of the hammer, each measured cut, the pyramid took form, slowly, softly, like a dream moving from shadow into light. The work was done not by force, but by breath, by careful understanding, by a reverent listening to the stone itself, as if it held a secret, a rhythm that could only be unlocked through soft, patient listening. As we move deeper into the process, we feel the rhythm of the tools in our own bones. The chisel, worn smooth by years of work, becomes a symbol of human will, proof that the smallest edge, used without haste, can shape the eternal. The stone, with its weight and stubbornness, gives way, not because of violence, but because of quiet determination, as if the earth itself knew it was being carved by hands that understood its language. The artisans, though their names have long faded into history, still speak through their work, through the quiet strokes, through the edges they shaped, through the forms they created from the living stone. There is a sacredness in the work, a reverence for the tools, for the patience they require. The artisans understood not only how to carve stone, but how to listen to it. They knew the pressure needed to coax the stone, the angle that would let the copper blade sink through the surface, and the way the stone would sing its secrets when it was treated with care. Perhaps in some ancient way, they understood the stone's behavior as a language of its own, one that could only be heard through the repetition of action, through the quiet intimacy of the craft. As the work continues, we are led to a quiet, still space, the end of the task, the moment when the chisel rests, its purpose completed. The pyramid, now vast and serene, stands as a testament to the quiet dedication of the hands that shaped it. The tool, once held with care, now lies in the dust, its metal darkened, its work done. It is small, almost invisible, lying forgotten in the shadows. But without it, without that simple tool, the dream would have remained trapped inside the uncut rock, a monument never brought to life. The chisel, though tiny compared to the towering pyramid, is the silent hero of this story, its legacy carried not in its own grandeur, but in the silent passage of time, in the work it helped create.
The pyramid, like the chisel, remains in silence. Its grandeur, its form, its scale, all stand as a reflection of the quiet dedication of those who built it, the ones who carved not only stone, but their place in the fabric of time. The tool, the chisel, disappears into the dust, but its essence lingers, echoing in the stone, in the pyramids, in the silence that follows. The chapter comes to a close in gentle reverence as we step back, as we stand before the pyramid, vast, eternal, and quiet. The pyramid holds within it the echoes of 1,000 strokes, 1,000 tools, 1,000 hands. And yet the work that created it was simple in its truth, patient, quiet, and measured in its rhythm. The pyramid, now complete, remains as a reminder that the greatest creations do not arise from chaos or speed, but from the quiet persistence of a single stroke, a single moment, repeated over time. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the truth of the process, of the patience it took, is a secret meant only for those who can listen, to the soft sound of copper against stone, to the whisper of the hammer against the earth. Perhaps the work of the patient hand will remain, like the pyramid itself, an enduring testament to what can be accomplished with quiet devotion, with the passing of time, and with the belief that softness can carve endurance.
At the summit, where the Great Pyramid meets the sky, a silence rests like a crown. It is there, at the apex, where the earth and heavens meet, that a question stirs, gentle and persistent. What was placed at the top, and what was it meant to catch? We look up, past the stone steps that climb so high, past the weathered edges and ancient walls, toward the space where the pyramid once held its final secret,
A capstone, now lost to time. There, high above the world, a gleaming stone once crowned the structure, perhaps shining in the light of the rising sun, turning the dawn into a blade of light that cut through the morning mist. The capstone, it is said, could have been made of gold or electrum, a dazzling point at the peak of an eternal monument. But now it is gone, leaving a space that whispers of something precious, something sacred, now lost. The mystery of the capstone beckons. What did it truly symbolize? Was it a spiritual seal, completing the monument's upward prayer, its ascent toward the heavens? We drift through the layers of symbolism, imagining the moment of its placement. There was no grand fanfare, no triumph of kings or priests. It was a sacred act, a quiet culmination of years spent in measured labor. Each stone placed with reverence, each moment of effort a prayer made visible. The capstone was the final breath of this monumental prayer, the last piece to seal the connection between the earth below and the heavens above. But the truth, like the capstone itself, remains elusive. No one knows for sure where it went, or why it disappeared. Was it stolen, carried away in the dark of night? Was it weathered by centuries of time, eroded by the winds that swept across the pyramid's smooth outer casing? Or was it removed, perhaps deliberately, as a symbol of power lost, or a fear of the pyramid's reaching toward the heavens? The records are unclear, the history fragmented, and the capstone's absence leaves a void, a gap in the story that cannot be filled. The silence around it deepens, like the space above the pyramid where the stone once sat. As we move deeper into the mystery, the missing capstone begins to take on a deeper meaning. It is no longer just a stone, a piece of the pyramid's physical structure. It becomes a metaphor for all that is lost, for the gaps in history that remain open like waiting hands, eager to hold what has slipped away. The pyramid, grand and eternal, was meant to stand as a monument that could never be erased, yet it too suffered erasure in the absence of the capstone, in the stripping of its smooth outer casing, once gleaming like frozen daylight. Now only the rough steps of the pyramid remain, its outer shell worn by time and weather, its beauty fading beneath layers of dust. The contradiction is soft but haunting. The pyramid, built to last for eternity, was not immune to the slow passage of time. Even something as grand, as eternal as the pyramid could be undone. The smoothness of its surface, once perfect, is now chipped, worn down by the winds of history. The capstone, that final, brilliant touch, was lost to the forces of time, to the hands of those who came after, to the slow erasure of what was meant to last forever. And yet, in the absence of the capstone, in the hollow space at the peak of the pyramid, there is a strange beauty, a reminder that even in loss there is something to be learned. The pyramid still stands, still holds its shape even without the capstone. Its true power, its true meaning, is not just in the final stone, but in the act of building, in the reaching toward the heavens, in the aspiration to create something that touches the divine. The mystery of the capstone moves us from wonder to melancholy. As we linger in the stillness, we feel the weight of all that has been lost, of all that we cannot know. The pyramid, with its silent, smooth steps, stands as a testament to the quiet persistence of human will. It reaches upward, toward the stars, toward something greater than itself, and yet it is marked by absence. The capstone, though gone, still lingers in the air above it,
a question without an answer, a mystery that will never be fully solved. We watch as the moonlight slides gently over the summit, casting long shadows across the pyramid's face. The light feels soft, almost reverent, as though it too is paying tribute to the missing capstone. The absence at the peak of the pyramid sits like a silent throne, waiting, as if the space itself holds a secret that may never be fully revealed. The moon, distant and eternal, shines down on the pyramid, indifferent yet intimately connected to its form, just as the capstone was once intimately connected to the structure it crowned. As the chapter fades into silence, we are left with a quiet uncertainty, a lingering question. Perhaps the true capstone was never metal, never gold or electrum, but the act of reaching itself, the human hands that placed the stones, one by one, toward the sky, guided by the stars above. Perhaps the real capstone was not a physical object, but the effort, the devotion, the prayer that rose with each block laid upon the next, until the pyramid reached its peak. Perhaps, in the end, the pyramid's true power lies not in its completion, but in the journey of creation, the act of reaching toward the heavens, of striving to create something greater than oneself. The pyramid stands, vast and serene, its peak lost to the night, the absence of the capstone a quiet echo that rings softly in the stillness. It is a monument to human aspiration, to the hands that built it, to the mystery that will never be fully understood. And in that mystery we find beauty, soft, silent, eternal. Perhaps the true capstone was never meant to be found. Perhaps it was meant to remain in the space between the earth and the stars, in the act of reaching, of building, of becoming. And in that act we are left with a question that lingers in the night, soft and waiting, like the silent echo of the moonlight above. In the breath of night, we find ourselves standing at the threshold, the air thick with silence. The pyramid looms like an ancient sentinel, darkened by the weight of centuries, its edges softened by the caress of time. Beneath the moon's quiet gaze, the stone is a deep, unbroken black. There are no torches here, no sounds save for the quiet rustle of dust shifting in the cool breath of forgotten winds. The entrance beckons, its shadow stretching across the desert, inviting us into a place where words have ceased to hold meaning, and only the weight of the past lingers. The stone archway, tall and unyielding, is but a fleeting suggestion of an entryway, an invitation, perhaps, to listen for a voice that no longer speaks. Beyond the dark threshold, we know only one truth. Once we step inside, the world we know will dim and fade, as if swallowed by the night itself. Who were they, the ones whose voices were sealed behind this stone? The question rises like incense, faint and reverent. We cross the threshold slowly, deliberately. The air within is dense with the weight of 1,000 years, heavy like old linen, as if each breath we take is drawn through the fabric of time itself. The darkness wraps around us like a shroud, yet there is an unmistakable feeling of space, an endlessness just beyond our sight. We are no longer in the world of the living,
no longer beneath the blazing sun, but within the quiet chambers of something eternal. The corridors narrow, closing in with a slow, deliberate pressure, as if this place itself remembers the passage of those who walked here before. The walls, smooth and unyielding, hold secrets we are not meant to know. Yet the more we move through these narrow halls, the more the silence grows, not oppressive, but sacred, as though every step is a step deeper into the fabric of the universe itself. We find ourselves before the grand gallery, a long ascending passage where the air grows colder. The walls are lined with smooth stones, their surface almost too perfect, too deliberate in their construction. There is no space between them, no sign of effort in their alignment, each stone placed with such care that it suggests not a construction, but a ritual. There is a feeling here, a quiet hum that seems to vibrate through the stone itself, as though this space was never meant to be walked by the feet of mortals, but only to be passed through by the spirits of the long forgotten. In the silence, we begin to wonder, were these walls built for the living or for the dead? The question lingers as we move deeper, past the king's chamber, where the air feels even more stagnant, almost suffocating. Here the walls seem to lean inward, as if to shield something, to protect it from the prying eyes of the world. Yet what is it that needs protection? The body? The soul? Or perhaps something far more ancient, a memory, a name, a legacy lost to time but still held here, beneath the cold stone. Above, the relieving chambers stretch upward, their purpose still unclear, their design a mystery. Some say they were meant to protect the king's final resting place from the weight of the earth above. Others whisper that they were intended for a deeper, more cosmic purpose, to align the dead with the heavens themselves. And yet, even as we study these chambers, we feel the overwhelming sense of unfinishedness. There is a contradiction here, like a riddle with no answer. So much care in the construction, so much thought in the design, yet the true purpose of each room remains hidden in the folds of time, waiting to be uncovered, perhaps, in some far-off moment of revelation. But for now it remains just out of reach. Beneath the surface of this grand structure, beneath the precision of its architecture, we begin to sense the tension between intention and uncertainty. Every stone, every passageway, every shadowed chamber was crafted with a sense of purpose, yet even here, in the quiet of the stone, there is a suggestion that the story is incomplete. The pyramid, so studied, so analyzed, still resists understanding. It holds its secrets, cradles them, as if daring us to solve its mysteries. But perhaps it is not meant to be solved. Perhaps it is meant only to be held in awe, to be pondered from the silence of the heart. As we stand in the heart of the pyramid, a soft reverence settles over us. There is no grand revelation, no moment of clarity. The space, both tomb and temple, holds us in its embrace, cradling us in its mystery. And as we close our eyes, we feel the weight of those who have come before us, the builders, the ones who carved their vision into stone. We feel their presence not as a memory, but as a living echo, reverberating through the corridors, through the very air itself. There is a quiet beauty in this place. It is not the beauty of sight, but the beauty of stillness, of silence. The pyramid is a vessel, a keeper of secrets, of names that have long since turned to dust. It is a place where the soul is sheltered, where the passage from life to death is made sacred by stone. Perhaps it was never meant to be understood. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Beneath the silence of the stone, we sense the weight of a truth too large to be held in words. The pyramid is not a place of answers. It is a place of questions, of reverence, of stillness. Here, in the cool embrace of the stone, the names of the long departed are carried away, like dust on the wind. They fade, they vanish, but their presence remains, held within the silence of the pyramid, within the chambers where time itself seems to stretch into infinity. Some names, it seems, were never meant to be spoken. They were meant only to be held, like the stone itself, like the night that holds the stars. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. As we stand in the darkening chamber, our breath slow and steady, the stone beneath our feet cool and eternal, we realize that the pyramid does not seek to answer our questions. It does not seek to reveal its secrets. It simply holds them, like the earth holds its ancient sacred treasures, still, silent, and eternal. And so we leave the chamber as we entered it, quiet, reverent, knowing that some answers are never meant to be found, and some questions are better left unanswered, whispered only to the stars. The horizon turns pale as the night lets go of its last breath, and the desert begins to stir, as if waking from a long, deep dream. The sand, once still, now shifts beneath a soft breeze, and the sky blushes with the first light of dawn. In this sacred moment, when night slips quietly into day, a question rises like the slow unfolding of a prayer. What did it feel like when the final block found its place? This is the moment of culmination, the last breath in a labor measured not in hours, but in lifetimes. Stone by stone, breath by breath, the pyramid grew, each piece placed with care, with devotion. It was not built in haste, but in the stillness of time, in the rhythm of quiet hands that worked without end. The pyramid itself becomes less a mere structure of stone and more a monument to memory, a palace of labor, devotion, and human coordination, where time is stitched into a single shape, unbending, eternal. The question of that final moment, the moment the last block was set into place, remains elusive. What did it feel like to see it done, to see it rise above the earth, to know it would never bow to the weight of time? We move deeper into the mystery, tracing the path of creation in slow motion. We return to the quarry, where the echoes of hammer and chisel still reverberate, like a distant song sung by the earth itself. The workers, their hands rough from labor, shaping stone from the heart of the land, each strike of the chisel a prayer to the gods of stone and sky. From there we follow the river gates, where the blocks were floated down the Nile on barges, the water carrying them like dreams into the hands of those who would raise them. The wet sand, the measuring ropes beneath the stars, each image is a piece of the puzzle, a thread in the tapestry of this creation, woven together by countless souls.
The pyramid becomes a living memory, a place where time is held in every stone. It is not just a structure, it is a story, unfolding across the ages. The method, the way the stones were lifted, the way the work was done, no single explanation ever fully captures it. No one theory can explain the miracle of its creation, and perhaps that is the point. The uncertainty of its construction becomes sacred, a veil that protects the mystery, preventing it from being reduced to a single neat answer. The pyramid itself refuses to be captured, to be contained in any one explanation, and that in itself is part of its power, a silent, eternal witness to human ambition, creativity, and the devotion that guided it. As we move through these sacred spaces, the emotional journey shifts from curiosity to quiet reverence. We imagine the builders, their hands aching from the weight of their work, their faces quiet as they stand back and look up at what they've created. There is no loud celebration, no triumphant cheers. Instead, there is a softness, a stillness, like the moment after a prayer, when the heart rests in the quiet of its own answer. They have completed the work, and the pyramid stands, eternal and unyielding. The light of dawn begins to climb its sides, just as the stones once did, slowly, carefully, without hurry. The first light touches the tip of the pyramid, and for a moment the earth seems to hold its breath, as if time itself pauses to witness the final act of creation. In the final reflection, we are invited to rest inside the unanswered. The pyramid stands there, in the stillness of the dawn, its surface catching the soft light of a new day. It endures, not as a single moment of triumph, but as a continuous witness to all that came before. The final block, the last stone, remains shrouded in mystery. The question of how, of why, and of what it felt like when it was done still lingers in the air, unanswered. And yet, in that unanswered question, there is peace. The pyramid does not need to be fully understood. It simply needs to exist. Its endurance is its answer. As the chapter closes, we are left with a breath-long silence, a stillness that fills the air like the quiet after a prayer. We realize that history is not only what we know, but what we cannot fully hold, what slips through our fingers like sand, what lingers in the shadows, waiting to be discovered in its own time. Some truths we understand are meant to be slept beside, not solved. And so we let the silence carry us as we rest in the wonder of what is and what remains unanswered. Perhaps the final answer was never meant to be known, for the pyramid, like the silence of the desert, holds its own mystery. Perhaps, in the end, the last block is not a physical object, but the act of reaching itself, the human hands that placed the stones, and the stillness that follows when the work is done. The pyramid, in its quiet eternity, stands as a reminder that some questions are eternal, and that some mysteries are meant to be lived with rather than solved. Perhaps the last block was never the answer, but the act of placing it. And in that act, we find the peace of knowing that some truths are always just beyond our grasp, waiting to be felt in the stillness, in the quiet grace of time's passage. And as the final stone settles into place, the pyramids stand tall, eternal monuments to the power of human determination and vision.
Now, as you awaken from this journey through history, remember that the wonders of the past are always just a dream away. Thank you for joining us on this peaceful voyage through time here at Twilight Tale. Sleep well, and until next time, where history waits quietly to tell its story once more. Sweet dreams.